Good evening and welcome to Democratic Television. My name is Lisa Plawchan. I am the Tennessee Public Education and Campaign Outreach Lead for Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. We advocate for public safety measures that help protect families from gun violence in our communities. Tonight, we are talking Gun Sense. This is a new public education campaign and public awareness campaign launched here in the state of Tennessee. We're going to be talking about the realities of gun violence in America, gun violence in Tennessee, and gun violence here in Knoxville. The purpose of this campaign is to strengthen partnerships that we already have, help educate the community, and also to foster dialogue with different organizations and stakeholders who might be interested in taking action and preventing future gun violence. So in this presentation, we share gun violence data, we discuss common sense solutions, and we talk about ways that you can get involved and take action. Tonight, we are going to highlight certain pieces of the presentation. However, we are going to really focus on one of our common sense solutions, which is city gun violence prevention and intervention. And it's my honor to be joined by Terry Walker-Smith, who is a Everytown Survivor Fellow with Everytown Survivor Network, as well as she does community involvement and community outreach and city gun violence prevention. She's a very busy woman. And Rick Held, who is the Community Engagement Director with SEED, and he's also involved with city gun violence prevention and intervention work. So thank you both for being here tonight to talk about this very important and timely matter. I'd like to begin by just hearing from both of you about your story. Tell us about how you got involved in this work and why it's important to you. Terry, would you like to begin?
My name is Terry Walker-Smith. I'm the mother of 4 sons, and my son Christopher Lynn Macbeth was shot September the 15th, 2009 in Washington Heights while sitting on the porch waiting for his son to come home. And this month is the 10th year of Chris's death. That was on the 15th, and his birthday is Friday, September the 27th. And Chris is the reason why I speak out and speak up about gun violence, because too many mothers, other mothers have experienced the trauma, the devastation of having to bury your child, to be shot and killed in a senseless way. Yeah. And so it's important for me to try to speak up about reducing and ending gun violence. It's something that I live with every day. Chris's children live with this every day. And I'm thankful to be a part of Moms Demand Action, giving me that voice for Chris, in honor of Chris. I joined Moms Demand Action about 3 years ago. I was introduced by a friend that told me about an organization that is trying to reduce gun violence by getting laws changed and making, for the community, making a safe community with prevention and with getting different laws changed. And so Moms Demand Action has really helped me through my journey of grief. And I'm proud to be Everytown Survivor. I just got that role back in April of this year, and I've been doing outreach, and now to be part of the city gun violence, because it is a problem in our community. It's just not my problem. It's a problem, an epidemic. Homicides are epidemic. Gun violence is an epidemic. Our children aren't safe in schools. They have to do these, instead of fire drills, they're doing active shooter drills. So that, is a lot of trauma to them. You're not safe to even worship in a place, to worship in church, in a mall. And just to be able to go outside of their house, to live a normal life. And this is my new normal, living with the death of my son. And so, as I say, it's really important to have the preventive measures to reducing gun violence.
Well, we are so grateful for you, and I know through the years you and I have gotten to know each other quite well, and I'm so appreciative of your voice and your courage, and you definitely help me keep going. So thank you for continuing to speak out on Chris's behalf and on behalf of all the other parents that just aren't ready to take that step. You are the change, so thank you. And Rick, how did you get involved in city gun violence prevention work?
Well, it's kind of next mayor to work in partnership with us to address those. And as far as the gun violence aspect of that goes, our number one priority, we literally had folks from the community voting on these issues, right? Proposing these issues and then ranking them. And the number one priority that our folks have come up with is to increase city funding for non-government nonprofit programs that are not law enforcement. It's kind of like the traditional way that government is funded, try to address these problems, is to beef up law enforcement, more guns, more police, sometimes more tanks, literally, that kind of thing. And so we knew that, and we were just talking about this earlier today in our meeting with the district attorney. There's a lot of neighborhood organizations that have relationships with the victims and the perpetrators in the community of gun violence, but those folks are typically doing this on a volunteer basis, and if they had significant resources, they have the relationships where they could interrupt a lot of that violence and also do things like conflict resolution and that type of thing. And so that was our biggest priority.
And I think that's really important, and I'm glad that you brought that up, that there are so many organizations and lesser known organizations and people volunteering their time. And I know, Terry, you've done a lot of victim services work, helping mothers and families through trauma and grief, and that's also part of the Interrupter program. Do you want to talk at all about some of the victim services work that you've done?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that me and Rick talked about as far as the city gun violence too is reaching out to those victims and families where they are, for Moms Demand Action, reaching out to those families that have been affected in one way or another, to let them know that we are there to have that support. And also with Hope for Victims is another program that helps you through the court system. It's for all families that have suffered the loss, but to walk with you through the court system, because it's not an easy process going through the court system. So, and myself, I reach out to mothers where they are to let them know that they're not alone. And
I think something that you've mentioned to me before, and I think it's really important to say here tonight, is that the pain doesn't end after the funeral, and there are always birthdays and anniversary days and holidays that are a struggle. And I think the work that you've done in the community to help mothers along has been really wonderful, and is definitely needed, and things like that need to be funded. So in our, I guess, last few minutes, I know that there has been a resolution to ban gun shows on city property. And Terry, I know you were involved in that. Do you want to mention anything about that effort?
Well, they call it the gun zone, and some form of Bureau of Justice named that particular part the gun zone. And so and that's where a lot of the gun deaths occur, and also it's easy access to get a gun. So closing that big loophole could save a lot of lives.
Yeah.
So that's a preventive measure. If there's a problem, if you call it the gun zone, make it a safe zone and take the guns out of the gun zone.
Yeah. I think that's great. And Rick, do you want to mention any more about the KPD data that you have?
Sure. Related to this proposal that City Council is going to vote on to ban sales of guns and facilities. Of course, like, I don't know if there's more than one facility, but the one that first comes to mind is the Jacobs Building at Chilhowie Park. But there might be others. I'm not sure. And I don't know how often they hold a gun show there. Probably, maybe a quarterly basis, a monthly basis. I'm not sure. But what's really interesting when you look at the data, that kind of backs up a good reason to have this resolution passed, is it's up on the screen right now, where first there's this data about gun homicides, and then there's the data about non-fatal shootings over time, 2015 to 2019. Now, 2015 was the year that Xavier Dodson was killed and got national attention, and so there was in the immediate aftermath of that incident, there was a more resources put from the community leaders, the powers that be, to quote unquote do something, right, to alleviate this problem. So what you find in the gun homicides that year, 18, we said was too many to have, and we needed to do something. But what you can see, if you look at the white versus black homicides, way out of proportion. If you just look at 2019, one white gun homicide versus 12 black homicides, that's almost exactly reversed in terms of what the population is, white versus black. So that's an equity issue right there. But on the other side, on the non-fatal shootings, aggravated assaults, we're looking at 2019, 128 of those aggravated or non-fatal shootings, and the worst year previous to that was in 2017 at 72. So that's something's up there, and something's off the chain in terms of that those incidents.
Yes, and thank you for bringing this data in to share with us today. And I just want to thank you both for all the tremendous work that you're doing with the city gun violence work. And I know there is a mayoral forum on October 9th. Is that correct?
Yes. At Honey Rock Victorious Church on Holston Drive in East Knoxville.
So people can come and hear what the mayoral candidates have to say regarding that. And if you would like to learn more about the Talking Gun Sense campaign, or how to get involved with Moms Demand Action and the work that we're doing here in Knoxville, but also the state of Tennessee, there's some information up there on your screen. And we really appreciate your time tonight, and we look forward to seeing you again on another episode of DTV. Have a good night.